Recording stop. There we go. So the way that we work in the Turner's Falls Cultural District is through partnerships. Again, mentioning that we're only 4,000 people. We're a very small and tight-knit group of businesses, restaurant owners, artists, and stakeholders that work together. But the reason it works is because there is somebody at Town Hall. There's a single person. In this case, it's my job for now, but my job is to amplify opportunity and leverage resources to bring people together, because there's a point person at Town Hall to get quick answers from, to get shortcuts about how to get things, to get reminders about grants and money, to get information and enthusiasm. That's kind of the foundation of the success. I would say, because there's somebody to go to. It's easier to get things done in Turner's Falls than in a lot of places, because you have this person, because you have agriculture, because there is this designated person whose job it is to answer questions, and to bring some money to it, and to bring some resources to it. So here's some of the wonderful people that I get to work with. Here's Nova Motorcycle. They're a vintage motorcycle store. They repair. They do custom motorcycles, but like if you want an Austrian moped from the 70s, that's where you would go and get one if that's your jam. Here's my good friend Richie Richardson. He is a clothing designer. He splits his time between New York City and Turner's Falls. On the right, you'll also see Cider Days, which is a Franklin County-wide event. Lower right is from the Comtock Homes Festival, which if you've never been, you should come to Turner's Falls the first weekend in August every year, because it's a wonderful Native American event, which I co-sponsor with the Nolan Bika Project. And here's a wonderful outdoor movie we sat and watched ET outside, and a beautiful Black History event from a few years ago. And collectively, what the Turner's Falls Cultural District is known for is, Turner's Falls is a place for businesses with a commitment to sustainability and business practices that prioritize things that are handmade, local, and ethically sourced. This is common throughout the district. This includes breweries and restaurants as well, who source the majority of their ingredients at local farms. And the Turner's Falls Cultural District really is strictly one of a kind shopping and dining experience. And I would like to just point out some of the slides. In the upper left, here's a hand sign painter. Her name is Jess Marsh, and she custom paints signs, old school, brush. She does beautiful, beautiful work. She's a very, very in-demand sign painter. And there are a number of business signs in the Turner's Falls Cultural District that are hand painted by Jess. And here we have a store that does organic food and organic groceries and local ice cream and things like that. Here's a beautiful meal. Most of it is local. All of it is organic. We have breweries, vintage shops. This is Buckingham Rabbits Vintage. The bicycle at the bottom is a business that refurbishes bicycles, old bicycles, instead of new bicycles. And on the bottom left is a very intriguing store called Swanson's Fabrics. She has what she calls dead stock material. So all the material none of the material is new. This is all material that she gets from around New England and the country, as far as I know. Everything is $4 a yard, but we know for sure that many of the fabrics there go up to $200 and $300 a yard. But it's end bolt material, it's dead material, and this is her business model, is to use what it is that we have. A friend of mine got a piece of fabric that was a few yards of a bolt of fabric that was used to make a dress from an Academy Awards. And it came from Broadway, it came from New York City. So very interesting shops, again, with this emphasis on sustainability. So looking into our housing stock, this is where I go over into the planning department side of things. The buildings with the arrows were converted into affordable housing in the 1980s. These buildings are huge, and so there's kind of a mix in town. But a lot of the buildings downtown have actually been converted into affordable housing. And the pros and cons to that The pro is obviously that because these buildings have been maintained for the last 40 years, they're in phenomenal condition. They look really beautiful. When you drive downtown, you can't not notice how good all of these 19th century brick structures actually look. On the pro side, again, it really helps with gentrification. The town of downtown Turners Falls, we're only about 5 units away from the 10% state goal for affordable housing, which is really possible. And again, that helps fight gentrification because we know that our housing stock has all of these units that will stay in that category. The con is, of course, that we've lost a lot of retail space. A lot of these buildings that have been converted into affordable housing, the space at the bottom, ground floor retail has been lost. And so we're always looking for places to add retail space. But that was an important decision that we made back in the 1980s. I don't know if the town would make that decision again, but in the 1980s, you know, Turners Falls needed that help maintaining those buildings. And but there is a great push for people are now investing in downtown Turners Falls. I already mentioned that the Shea was a town-owned building. It's always been a theater. It will always be a theater. But the buildings you're looking at, the 3 other buildings that you're looking at, they are large 3-story buildings. They've been recently bought by people who renovated them well and are reinstalling businesses and in some cases apartments. So it kind of went from Turners Falls in the last 40 years has gone from needing help maintaining buildings to now attracting people who want to buy and renovate buildings. I think I have one more slide. So what's new in the Turners Falls Cultural District? Well, of course, lots of entertainment, lots and lots of festival grants. Things are in the works. Calendar will go out through River Culture and on the River Culture website and through the Cultural District from May all the way through early September. But I wanted to bring up 2 things that are particularly interesting. Turners Falls received a $30,000 grant for improvements at our band shell at Pesky-Amscott Park. So the slide at the left shows some of the things that we're doing. We're going to be doing new lighting. We're going to be doing theatrical lighting in there. We're considering awnings that come down on the sides to block traffic, noise, and different kinds of landscaping and hardscaping elements, again, to enhance the amenity for the performers and for the viewers. And then the photo on the right is we received a $50,000 grant for a study for an architecture plan for this town annex building. So I have it marked there in red. It's attached to Montague Town Hall, but the building used to be a former DPW building. The DPW got a new building, and now that building is empty, we're considering ways to use it. It's right on the bike path, it's right on the water, and we are going to be doing an architect study about how we can turn this into a small fine arts center, which is going to be extraordinarily interesting and a real game changer for downtown, to have another venue where maybe as many as 80 people can sit and see a performance, or we can have workshops there, and we can have exhibitions there. And I'm very, very excited about these 2 opportunities. So aside from the wonderful festival grants and entertainment coming in downtown this summer, we have these 2 projects in the mix, and that's through the planning department. So I think that's all I have. If you have any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was
You're
awesome.
welcome.
And now I really have to get to Great Barrington and Turners Falls. Thank you so much for sharing this. Now, if anyone is welcome to add questions to the chat. I do want to say that the City of Holyoke, thank you for joining us. Murals look great was the comment. And Margot Jones loves the red chairs and so proud of Turner Falls for keeping them there.
Yeah.
And Stacia Kaplanson did put a question in to the chat about which anyone, Lisa or Chris or Suzanne, welcome to chime in. How are historical organizations involved in your cultural district, or how are you seeing the historical organizations involved as part of a partner for this program?
I'll tell you, we have a historical society in Montague Center, and then we have a historical commission. I'm on the historical commission. another one of the things that I like to do. Our historical commission works closely with our planning department to make sure that these buildings, and we've had some fumbles, I'm not going to lie, you know, over the years, we've had some fumbles between the cultural commission not knowing what the planning department is doing. And this is really important stuff. It's really important that if things are going to get moved, renovated, changed, etc., that everybody knows how and when this is happening and everybody can chime in. So we've been working for the last couple of years to make sure that the cultural commission understands how town hall works, so that they're plugged into the way that town hall gives these notices. Town hall has a very regimented way that planning departments, you know, building departments let everybody know what's going on. And so it's been about a 2-year walk in that direction to bring these two things together. We're in better footing now than we ever have been, but in the past we've had some pretty hard calls. So it's better now, but that's like a lot of things in town.
Yeah, this is Chris. In Great Barrington, obviously the Historic District Commission has the jurisdiction over the listed buildings, and they review the changes to those buildings. But in terms of cultural and historical promotion, that's more of the Historical Commission's job. We also have a nonprofit historical society, like Suzanne mentioned in Turner's Falls. You know, we just try to support them whenever we can. The Historical Commission just kind of spearheaded the publication of a local book about Great Barrington historical structures called Great Barrington Here and Gone, written by our kind of resident historian, which documented structures that have been moved or demolished, or we were able to use some of our funds to supplement the cost of the publication of that, and they held a book signing and book release in the St. James Place performance space in our cultural district, so we were able to promote that event. So again, we support through a little bit of funding and promoting events. I want to echo what Suzanne said earlier, having somebody in town hall and coordinating between all of these entities, not just in permitting, but also promotion, getting answers quickly in a streamlined fashion is really, really key to success.
That's great. So communication and partnerships, all very important. So we have another question. If a community wants to consider forming a cultural district, where do they start?
So I can answer that. So I think the best thing to do, well, you can go on the Mass Cultural Council webpage, massculturalcouncil.org, click on communities, and then click on cultural districts, and it'll give you a whole guidelines on getting a new district. The first thing you really need to do, though, is talk to the municipality. You really need to have a conversation to make sure that the municipality does want to support this district, because that's where the designation sits. So, and then you need to start to really think about who those partners are going to be in your district and start to drum up some love for that. And then you would fill out a letter of intent through the Mass Cultural Council, and then fill out an application, and then that sort of starts the ball rolling. But it really begins with the municipality having the conversation. Is this something that's good for the city and the town? Who's going to manage that? Because all that information is going to have to go into the application.
And if a community, a municipality, or an organization wants to find out more, can they reach out to Mass Cultural Council first to make sure they're doing best practices and getting started? Local
Absolutely.
Technical assistance, or?
Absolutely. They can reach out to me, and then we have a new cultural districts program officer that's going to be coming on in April. So they can connect with either myself or Carolyn. So.
Okay, great. And Chris Skelly had a question. He said, I'm interested to hear examples of where or how cultural districts can recognize significant areas to underrepresented communities, particularly areas that do not meet criteria for listing on the National Register due to lack of integrity or historic resources, yet they're places that are still really significant to the community.
That's a good question. You know, Great Barrington has a lot of really old historic structures that are significant in various ways. to the community and to how the community developed and the people that were here and still here, and that obviously are, as Suzanne was pointing out, are integral to the look and feel of the district. And it's the there. It's where the businesses want to be, the restaurants want to be. They can be repurposed for housing or other purposes. So they're really important, even though they're not technically on the National Register or voted locally onto the local historic district commission. So we've inventoried a lot of them, which is great to document the history. But I think the way I would answer that question is, number one, we want to promote events and getting people downtown, whether you live in Great Barrington or you're visiting Great Barrington. We want you to come downtown into this area and experience the history and the cultural life and the architecture and shop in our stores and not spend an hour, but spend a weekend. So I think just getting people downtown into that area is really important economically and culturally and historically. I want to point out one other thing. There are a lot of significant areas in Great Barrington that are not in our downtown, and significant cultural players that are not in our downtown who inhabit significant structures or places. Our historical society is not in our downtown, but we do talk with them often, and we try to promote what they're doing. Our local college is not in our downtown, but they do lots of cultural programming, and it is itself a historic building. So we do try to do a lot of cross promotion, even though they're not in our district. We work collaboratively with them. I hope that sort of answers that question.
Yeah, and I just want to add a little bit to that. I think, as the Mass Cultural Council really sort of activates the race equity plan that we put in place a couple of months ago, I think that one of those things, I think it is really important for districts to really understand, the culture and the history of that space. And it's not only the districts, it's all of, as we're supporting local cultural councils, festivals, as we've talked about, and to us for really to be thinking about the Native American community, the African American community, the indigenous, other immigrant communities that have been, historically in these spaces, but overlooked and not in the history books. But it's a great opportunity for cultural districts, for communities to lift up those voices in a way that they haven't been before. And I love the way that both of these districts are doing that. And I think that, we have lots of names of towns and roads and all of that are indigenous, that are Native American, and just a way to be able to constantly lift that up, and using this as a space to do that, I think is really important. And I think it's a really way to honor those people that were in that space before.
Thank you. And that's a great point that everybody has made about using a district to also speak about other places in the area that may not fit into the district, but are really locally significant and you want to share with people. So, and I like how in Turner's Falls, the district doesn't fit into it has to be walkable and accessible, but it doesn't fit into a perfect, like you said, it's shaped like a T, because I know that there's communities that they have maybe pieces of their municipality that would be great districts, but they don't necessarily connect to each other. But being able to use that as a way to share the information is great. Well, that was our last question. And again, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you so much to our presenters for sharing the information. This will be on Preservation Massachusetts website once they have a chance to upload it. So feel free to share the word with people who didn't have a chance to attend today. And thank you again so much for enjoying. Stay tuned for our next presentation this summer. We'll get the word out as soon as we have everything planned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you for joining and
Have a great
presenting.
day, everyone.
Take
Ciao.
care. Enjoy the weather.
Thank you.